So I got a couple different days of training here for you and some updates on the bicep rupture. So this was from Sunday. Sunday I took the crew, and the crew ended up being a couple people from the team that I coach and my wife over to Unit Strength, where I teach classes in the morning. I used to teach them at night too, to different populations, not just competitive powerlifters. So great gym. You use that facility sometimes. They have a few less machines, but like way nice powerlifting equipment. Amazing place. They're going to hold a meet there on the 25th. Actually would have been the same day as my pro meet that I was going to do for the USPC. And by the way, that was 33 reps with a 70-pound dumbbell. So this, for me on this day, was single arm pressing. So my coach had me do 3 sets of 10 with 70 pounds shoulder press and then an AMRAP. And I don't think his expectations were that I was going to do 33 reps, but we actually had a really funny text conversation I posted on my Instagram because he was like, nobody's ever looked that bored with a 70-pound dumbbell as you did. But yeah, it was 33 reps. I can clearly do a lot more. But this is my favorite, the prettiest, the most beautiful client that I have. This is my wife. She's been back in the gym. She's basically just doing SBDs on the weekend, which is awesome. And she was feeling her squats today. We had done squats the last weekend. They went really well. And so she went up to 245 pounds, which is close to the most she's ever done. And she smoked it. There was something just really nice about her depth and her bar path. I think some of it has to do with how far her elbows got under the bar. That's not for everybody, but that rolled back wrist, elbows under the bar position can work really good, especially if you kind of have like that knees out squat like she does. And so, yeah, she was smoking it. She also benched, and bench was going really good, and we took a shot at 60 kgs, good old blue plates. She's been on a run to try to do that for a long time. We have a joke that Chandlers can't bench, though. So when she inherited my last name, she inherited not being good at bench press. Like, it's an automatic. You become a Chandler, you're just mediocre at bench press, which is the opposite of team Chandler. Because I would actually say, like, the funny thing is, like, how mediocre I consider myself at bench. Bench is probably the thing I'm best at coaching, which maybe is because I suck at it. And so I've spent more trying to become good at it. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, I have more females that can bench 70 kgs than I think most coaches in the area, for sure. Just had another one hit 70 kgs. There's my wife with the Strong Girl Summer sign from the unit. But yeah, it was a super fun session. We had a lot of people there. It was awesome. And then yesterday I had doctor's appointments for my arm. They were just kind of checking me to make sure that I'm going to be healthy for surgery, it's always nice when I get a full health checkup for something, because the truth is I'm 40 years old. I weigh 340 pounds right now, and I vary between like 330 and 350 most of the time. It did come down to 308. I was a little under 308 in December. But it's always good to have your heart checked and just get that general checkup. I do blood work. I pay to get blood work separately. Because of the PED use, you always want to have a pulse on that, and it's always good. But it was nice to get an EKG and have them tell me that my heart is healthy and all that kind of stuff. So they also gave me some stuff for the pain. They shot me out my other arm full of Toradol, and it really brought the pain down, and I think it brought the inflammation down, because now my elbow moves like just almost full range of motion. It still hurts a little bit, but just a huge improvement. And over the weekend, the pain in my bicep was pretty ridiculous. It was making me really cranky. Hopefully that didn't come out with the people that I was around and everything like that. But yeah, it's painful. People ask me how my arm is all the time. It hurts. But it's better. It's better today for sure. And then today was a real big pleasure, because I had Larry just work in with me. I mean, Larry's my client, and Larry does his own program. I do lay out Larry's programming. We have a periodization to what he does, but like, it's nice to have a training partner too. And so he jumped in, and it's not like he's gonna use the same weights as me on squat, but I actually showed him today how I would calculate out what he would do. So we kind of worked on like, hey, here's what your estimated 1 rep max is on squat right now, and here's how we're gonna do your percentage. So I was doing 4x6 on squats, which my weight is less because I'm using no knee sleeves, no belt, and just the phase that we're in. And so I showed him, for Larry, if we're going to use a belt and knee sleeves, somewhere around 75% of your estimated 1 rep max would be really good for a 4x6, right? It's 24 reps. In that kind of volume, that 70 to 75% is perfect. And then I showed him, because it's an SSB, you got to take off another 10% or so. And it's funny because, so what that came out to on his percentage is he was going to do 297 pounds. So about 300 pounds is what he's got on the bar right there. Right away, he didn't want to do that weight. He was like, no, I want to do 2 reds and a yellow. And I'm like, dude, I get it, but like this percentage is going to make a little bit more sense. Show me how it moves. And as we started moving it, it was dead on perfect. And we accomplished exactly what we wanted to accomplish. We got a good amount of volume in, allowed him to work on some cues. Granted, SSB is going to give you different cues than a straight bar, or sometimes we work with like a Yukon bar, like Natalie, who's off screen, was working Yukon bar squats today. They're all a little bit different, but it ended up being perfect for him. And it was just really nice to have just a straight up training partner. So Larry just joined me in what I did. My weight was 440 pounds. I was super happy with how it was feeling. It was, my coach is definitely, he's a GOAT of powerlifting, right? He was literally number 2 in the world to Larry Wheels at the time when Larry Wheels was at his best. One of the greatest powerlifters of all times. I heard a joke one time that said that Pete Rubish is probably your coach's favorite coach. Or your coach's favorite lifter, and that's probably true. So, yeah, he's the GOAT at picking numbers for me. And right now, he's picking numbers for me in this adjusted period where I'm injured. So, his ability to come up with what would make sense on a SSB squat session with no belt, no knee sleeves for 4x6, it's perfect. So I felt completely smoked by these. By like the second and third set, I was really feeling like it was almost an RP 8. By the 4th set of 6, I was starting to make it move like it was more like RPE 7, which it probably looks like it's even less than that because I'm pretty explosive, or at least I'd like to think I am. So the weight was really moving. Larry was in about the same boat. I would say these were very RPE 7 for both of us. Not that RPE is very important to how I program or how I think about things. And Larry was also showing off, so he was pausing his last reps, which I'm all for. It's freaking awesome. If you're feeling it, you get that pause in there, that's great. But yeah, especially with no belt, like the bracing on an SSB squat with no belt is awesome. So I told my coach that in my comments after I did this workout, that my core is just going to be iron if we just keep hammering these out. Like the no knee sleeves thing, I could just do more weight with knee sleeves, but I don't think it's necessarily like, I don't think it like makes my quad stronger to do it without knee sleeves. It's just a difference of how hard it's going to be. But yeah. And then we finished it up with, we did some single leg press, and Rise has this super cool Rise Athletic Club. That's where we're training at. That's where you see most of my videos. They have this super cool single leg press. So since we're doing single leg press, I used this today. And it's a 2-second pause at the bottom, which, I don't know, Larry, now looking back at this, that's probably like a 1-second pause, buddy. But yeah, we're supposed to be doing 2-second pause. In Larry's defense, everybody, he just used the same weight as me, which was 4 plates per side. So he's got 180 pounds per leg on there, which, if Larry's using the same weight as Nick, maybe we can cut him some slack on these very short 2-second pauses. He had to slap his leg right there just to wake it back up because it was probably falling asleep. Larry's great to lift with. Sometimes, like, if it doesn't feel right to him, he'll just yell out like, "Come on!" And he gets really into it, and I love that, man. But I also have to remind him all the time, and he knows this phrase all too well. Like I always tell him, it's not figure skating. Like, and I think I'm different as a coach in that sense because I think some coaches are looking for like you'd have this perfect, clean, beautiful looking rep, but I don't think most of the reps you're gonna do need to look like that, right? I think training, once you're getting into that higher percentage or even higher volume, like you're going to have some reps that you have to grind out. Like, yes, you should be fighting for that good position. Like that's definitely the goal, but it's okay to have to grind out the reps a little bit, right? Like I think that's the mentality of like, I want to be grinding out some reps. That's ideal. So yeah, definitely always fun to be showing Larry that. And Larry's stepping into like a coaching position himself. So today he was helping out some of the other lifters on the team. We had somebody that was doing squats and knee sleeves for the first time. And so even just helping them get used to what it feels like to be in the knee sleeves is a big deal. And yeah, it was really enjoyable to have all of us in there doing that. But yeah, I want all my lifters to become coaches. I want my team to be able to give each other feedback and help. Just kind of create that environment overall. So it's awesome to see. But yeah, these single leg presses are great. I actually probably should have put my foot a little bit higher. I think with the foot a little bit higher, you can feel it more in the glute. It kind of mimics a split squat, which is probably definitely part of why we're doing it. It's always good to get some unilateral work in, but I know my coach really wants me able to push my split squat, which we've been starting to do. It's interesting that I took an injury to be allow me to really concentrate on that, but we're definitely starting to push that. We had pushed like Hatfield SSB split squats. I probably have that in some of the older videos too, but like those were really fun. But they're incredibly hard and exhausting. So, as these were, you see Larry just laid out there. But yeah, and then when we finish it up with some hip thrusts, which I honestly don't ever really remember doing these. I'm sure I've done them in my life, but I really can't remember a time where I just did hip thrust. It was really interesting because I'm not surprised that I couldn't do a ton of weight. Like 2 plates was RPE 7 for a 3x12 for me, which is fine. Not surprised by that. I just haven't done these, and like my glutes aren't as strong as they could be. But what was interesting to me, what stood out is like the mind muscle connection, whether you believe that's all that important in powerlifting or not, was very obviously not there. Like the best example I can give you is if I was to do like a bent over row with 225, I could feel, it feels like I can feel every individual lat muscle fiber in my back flex, and I could control that. Like I'm not going to be using my traps to row it the way like an amateur lifter might do a row and not actually be activating their lats properly. But like I feel like such an amateur with these, not being able to activate my glutes.